Hi, Michael. My name is Heather, and I am a Christian of the Dutch Reformed tradition, which means that I'm a Calvinist. I've been reading up on the teachings of Augustine and Aquinas, and it seems to me that they both believed that God predestined all who would be saved. Like Calvinists, they did not reject free will, but rather understood the expression of free will as acting according to one's strongest inclination. This view of free will is compatible with deterministic predestination. As a Calvinist, I believe that humans, in our fallen nature, are inclined only toward evil, but God, in His mercy, grants His saving grace to whom He chooses, and that saving grace changes our hearts so that we have a desire to glorify God. My question for you is, why is Calvinism considered heresy in Catholicism, given what Augustine and Aquinas taught? Thank you for answering my question, and God bless you.
Very good question and very well articulated, though I think you are a little mistaken. And it's funny because we've been talking about St. Thomas Aquinas and St. Augustine over just the past couple of days. Providential, you might say. St. Augustine, usually Calvinists don't cite St. Thomas Aquinas as being a proto-Calvinist. Usually, I think St. Thomas Aquinas' defense of free will is usually pretty clear. But St. Augustine sometimes is one who Calvinists will invoke, and I think it's mistaken. There's a famous quote from St. Augustine that comes from, I think it's Sermon 169, which is that God made you without you. This is actually a point that I make sometimes when discussing the right to life, questions of abortion and the death penalty. God made you without you, this is the crucial part, but He doesn't justify you without you. So St. Augustine very explicitly says that you participate in responding to God's grace. Now, if you say, well, no, I'm not describing a kind of Calvinism that denies free will. I'm just saying that, you seem like you have free will, but it's all an illusion. Well, if we're just talking about illusion, then there's really nothing I could possibly say to convince you because it's unfalsifiable if we're all just living in an illusion, right? But there, I think it's a mistake for Calvinists to, certainly to quote St. Thomas Aquinas, or to justify their views on St. Thomas Aquinas, but also Augustine, who is the one that they usually go to. A question that I have for Calvinism and all novel theological movements is why did it take so long? If this is true, if the true version of Christianity came out in 1652 or whenever, 1545, or why did it take so long? And what happened in those intervening years? And what did the church fathers believe? And what did people believe in the apostolic age? I think this is in part why people who are part of more novel Christian sects, or even other sorts of religious sects, will try to tie their views to antiquity, which is, again, part of the attraction of St. Augustine, because he was writing so much earlier even than St. Thomas Aquinas. But I think that those are weak arguments. And so the question is, if these are novel views, as it seems to me, why did it take so long if that's the true religion? Because also, to me, it's clear enough that the Calvinist premise is contradicted by Scripture. Again, I'm no expert, but it's clear enough because God does not will that people go to hell. Meaning, we see in 1 Timothy, we see in 2 Peter, we see elsewhere throughout the Scripture that God does not will for us to go to hell. He wills that all be saved, but we have a free will and we can respond to His grace, or in any way we choose. We can either cooperate with it or we can turn away from it. So it seems to me, I'm of the opinion that Hilaire Belloc, a great Anglo-Franco Catholic writer and historian, and he said, Calvin is the true genius of Protestantism. And his idea is fatalist, and obviously, Hilaire Belloc would say that it's wrong. But it's a coherent system. It's a coherent system of thought, unlike some of the other versions, which I think are a little less coherent. But it just seems to me to be mistaken vis-a-vis Aquinas and Augustine and Scripture and sacred tradition.